And so, it begins. Dark were the skies and chill was the wind as the land was covered in a veil of malice. Across the hill did ride a dread army of the night, cloaked in mist and fog, prepared to rain down death and destruction upon the land. And the people did crowd for a savior, a noble soul to save them from their impending demise. Just as it seemed all was lost, in strode a mighty hero, clad in shimmering metal from head to toe. Wielding a terrible broadsword, he did cleave his foes in two, smashing their ranks asunder with righteous fury. And when the day was done and the enemy strewed across the fields in pieces, the people did turn to the warrior and say, "We shall name this day in your honor. Speak unto us your wisdom." The warrior said one word that day: epic.
One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. It's the 14th of November, 2008, and an expansion has just been released, which means that it is my sworn duty to be back on the air. Something like that, anyway. That's the kind of explanation that I gave myself to get me motivated for the show. And what a show we have coming up for you today. Coming on the show today, we shall be talking about WoW, a social phenomenon. Is it? Is it not? We shall see. As well as first steps into Northrend, my initial impressions, and whether or not I'm actually enjoying the expansion so far. Well, we shall see. I'd also like to know what Blizzard has to do to succeed in the future, and my concerns as to the future of the game, based on what I've seen so far in Wrath, as well as the one and only Illusion of Choice, which will be coming up later on in the show. That's the Illusion of Choice. You'll get to email in your requests for the ending topic of the show, which you can do by emailing themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Yeah. It's good to be back. I haven't really talked much, I guess, on air about what's actually been happening and the reasons that I took everything off air. I mean, I guess you guys probably already know everything about that if you've been reading my blog posts and stuff like that, and if you have, well, that's good, because at least you'll understand the basics behind the issues that I've actually encountered over the past month or so. But all I can say is that it's unfortunate to have to run into a situation that you can define as soul-crushing, and that's probably, one of maybe 2 times in my life that I've ever run into anything like that. But what I will say is that, and this is to anyone else that runs into a situation that gets them so down that you think it's not really worth it anymore, that the best thing you can possibly do is to stand right up again and get back fighting, because to be honest, if you're not doing that, then you're gonna get depressed and you're gonna sit down and you're gonna just wallow in your own self-pity more than anything. And yeah, you know what, I got a lot to pity myself about in this case, but that's not the point. That's not what people want to hear. There's a lot of people out there who've been very, very supportive over the past few weeks, not only of me, but of Jen, and that is very much appreciated. You have no idea how much that means to me. You guys have been fantastic. You guys have been stellar dealing with my silliness over the past month or so, with my overly emotional state. And to be honest, you're the best. It's really that simple. So a round of applause for every single one of you. Thank you very, very much. It is about time I got back on the horse, so that is what I am going to be doing today. Right, wow. The launch of Wrath. Well, let me tell you a little bit of a story. I actually went down to Asda, funnily enough, which is the only place that I could get Wrath in this town at midnight on launch day, which is a bit crazy. I thought, this is kind of weird. I wonder how many WoW players there actually are in Bolden Colliery, and yes, I've given out the town that everyone already knew anyway. Who cares? So I went down at Asda and not expecting really to find anyone, so I started wandering. I wandered in the door and I saw a line of people. I'm thinking, this is a little bit unusual. And they were all lined up at the customer service counter, which is the little kiosk at the front of the store, which usually sells cigarettes, lottery tickets, and other things. I can't remember what else they sell. Nothing particularly important. A couple of magazines, I think. But anyway. So I'm thinking, well, obviously, everyone is really, really, really in need of a fag. And yes, in this country, fag means cigarette before you get onto me with your angry emails like, with Proposition 8 he's being so offensive, and yeah. I don't support Proposition 8, guys. Keep fighting. Anyway, no politics on this show. So, I went down there and I saw this line of people, and I started walking past them until I realised, hang on a minute, if there's a line of people on this night, that can only be really for one reason. So I turn around again and there's like 30 people standing there. And there's... You know what struck me? What struck me the first time I saw these people is like how normal these people looked. And it sounds bizarre. It really does. For me, of all people who's been touting the social values of World of Warcraft, to say that it was odd to see all these normal people. But bear in mind, this is my hometown. This isn't like America. No, this is not BlizzCon. This is not all of these other places that I've visited. The University of Advancing Technology and all these other places in the world that I've visited, where I don't expect that... I don't expect the kind of group of people that plays WoW to look normal. That's something that other countries do. That's something that other groups have managed to pull off. It's like StarCraft being a national sport in Korea. Like, over here, that would be ridiculous. This is Britain. Britain doesn't go for this kind of thing. And yet, for some reason, I look at them and I'm like, and I'm surprised because there's like a 65-year-old guy in the queue. And there's a bunch of women. There's men of all ages, all colours. Literally, all colours. You know, you had Asians there, you had black guys there, you had Indian guys there, Pakistanis, and like, I didn't think about it that way. Until that point, I never thought about it that way, and that is really sad, to be honest. It really is. It's so sad that I didn't think of WoW to be such a cosmopolitan world that it would bring in, for my own hometown, the town which I don't have a lot of regard for, to be honest. You know, it's an old pit town. It doesn't have a lot going for it. It's kind of your average northern town. There's crime, there's poverty, there's all that kind of thing, but I never expected that, and that really caught me off guard. So I get in this queue, and I'm just standing there, kind of waiting for things, listening to Churasas on my MP3 player, just waiting for the opportunity to pick up my copy of Wrath. And it's funny because the guys at the till, I say guys, there were two like 45 to 50-year-old women actually serving it as cashiers. And the people that went up to there, they weren't asking for Wrath the Lich King, they were just saying 1 please, or 2 please. It's like some kind of crazy drug kind of thing. It's like, yeah, I'll have an ounce of spunky backpack. You know, that sounds so illicit. It's great. But anyway, I get about halfway down the queue, and this one kind of perfectly normal-looking guy gets his copy, and he screams at the top of his lungs, "For the Horde!" and bolts out of the door. And the best thing about that is that the only 2 people that didn't get it were the people behind the counter. And everybody else in that area of the store understood it. And I found that bizarre. And I found that encouraging and uplifting. And why? Well, name one other time that such a geeky hobby... it's such a geeky hobby, let's face it, you know, we're all a bunch of nerds in the eyes of the world. So, you got such a geeky, nerdy hobby, and we outnumber the guys that don't get it. It's like we've now got our own secret cult, but our secret cult is 11 million strong, and it's all over the place. And the media's getting a hold of it, and they did. The BBC got a hold of it. All the local radio stations got a hold of it. Radio 1, even the TV stations, they got a hold of it. You had a massive launch in London with television crews, 5,000, 6,000 people, all lining up, waiting for hours and hours and hours to get Wrath of the Lich King. It's an expansion for an online video game. And yet, for some reason, everyone's in it. Everyone's in on it. They want to find out what's going on. Does that not strike you as not only bizarre and kind of a little bit worrying, but also just a little bit thrilling? That's how it works for me. It strikes me as thrilling that a hobby like that could be brought to such a level of acceptance. And for once, we're not the butt of the joke. It sounds kind of pathetic, you know. I mean, most of you, I would imagine, have seen or otherwise experienced the kind of bullying and segregation and ostracization. Is that even a word? Ostracized, ostracization. We'll go with it. We'll go with ostracization for that today. That is the word of the day, and as a result, we get this noise. Anyway, I suppose you've seen it or experienced it, or at least seen it on TV. It's very stereotypical, the kind of MMO player stereotype. It's never been encouraged by the media as a whole. Even what we laugh at with stuff like Make Love Not Warcraft, the South Park episode, we laughed at it, we found it funny, but you know, it did perpetuate a horrible stereotype, and it's continued to be around, and yet now it just seems to me that the tides are turning. It seems to me the stereotype is going out of the window because it's becoming so widespread and so universally accepted, and our geeky jokes and our memes are breaking out of their normal obscurity. You know, you've got rickrolling being common, you've got lolcats, you've got all this other stupid stuff that has originated from all manner of different places, and it's becoming mainstream, and it has this mainstream appeal, and people are getting the idea that geeky humour is actually funny, which is not something we've really had before. You might decry the fact that the mainstream is getting hold of stuff like that, and they've run lolcats into the ground, they've run rickrolls into the ground, they've run epic into the ground, you know, all kinds of different things. All of these things which originated on certain boards whose names we shall not speak on these airwaves. And they've become mainstream, and you can complain and whine that they're ruining everything, but does it not, at least in some area of your heart, actually come to you and say, isn't it cool that people are starting to get this? You know, I've found this funny for however many years, and now, you know what, people are starting to understand why I think it's funny, and why I think this stuff's cool, and they're starting to be a little bit more accepting of stuff that is fun, regardless of whether or not it has a negative, outdated social stereotype attached to it. That's so important. I think it really is. I really do think it's so important, particularly amongst younger people, to actually put this idea forward that you can be whatever you want to be, and you can like whatever you want to like, and it doesn't matter, and you're not going to get ostracized for it, you're not going to get picked on for it, you're not going to get bullied for it, you're not going to be mocked by anybody for it, because for some reason, this one geeky hobby, you know, and Blizzard is responsible for this, has broken through into the mainstream, and a game about dragons, lich kings, undead, magic, goblins, gnomes, dwarves, and all the kind of things that used to be associated with 35-year-old something neckbeards in their parents' basement with a copy of D&D 4th edition, is becoming popular and becoming accepted. And it's not just about the geeky hobbies. It's about accepting what is fun and accepting something because it is fun, not because it's got all of this negativity attached to it, through whatever reason. And to me, that is maturity. It's society maturing through the acceptance of hobbies which were previously considered to be immature. Now, this is the kind of thing that people thought back in the day. If you were over 18 and you were playing games, you were considered to be a little bit odd, a little bit weird. You know, why aren't you concentrating on your priorities? And yet, over the past 5 or so years, it's started to change, and WoW has actually been the breakthrough product in that respect. It's people started to buy consoles and stuff like that, but with WoW, it's an unashamedly geeky thing. Unashamedly. There's no measure that you could take that would say, at the end, that WoW is not a geeky hobby. And yet, it's become accepted. It's just such a turning point. I'm stunned by it. I'm thrilled by it. And I think it does show that society is growing up when it comes to the consumption and acceptance of different media products. No matter what they are. So, let's see this advance. Let's see this go on to television, radio, music. Let's see power metal become universally accepted. Rhapsody, have Rhapsody in Fire be played on the radio. People buying science fiction fantasy books again. Science fiction, fantasy television shows being bankrolled and put out there. And let's see Blizzard actually take part in that, because they are partially responsible. They really are partially responsible for this breakthrough, in my opinion. And I do believe it is a breakthrough. You might think that maybe I'm going a little bit out of my mind here, but no, I really do genuinely believe it is a breakthrough and a change in attitude. And it's good. WoW has become a social phenomenon. It's ludicrous to think about it. A game that maybe even 5 years ago, a year before it was released, and certainly 10 years ago plus, would never have been socially accepted for some inexplicable reason. Maybe because it's just so accessible, or it was so well marketed, or it's so well put together, easy to play, that all these people from all these different walks of life get sucked into it, and as a direct result of that, it's no longer the domain of basement dwellers. It's no longer the domain of neckbeards, 450-pound ham beasts, whatever you want to call them. It's the domain of normal, everyday people that just want to have a bit of fun on the internet. And what on earth is wrong with that? Someone tell me, what is wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. And it doesn't matter what the theme is. It doesn't matter that we're dealing with all of these silly, crazy things that used to be attributed to childhood fantasies. It doesn't matter because, at the end of the day, it's a place for people to come together online and have a bit of fun. And that is never a bad thing, because it's a social phenomenon because it is social. Simple as that. If you don't want to thank Blizzard for anything, I completely understand. I mean, come on, I've criticised Blizzard for all manner of things, but to be honest, I think we do owe them something in that respect. This is not coming from the words of a fanboy. I'm a critic. I criticise them all the time and will no doubt criticise them later in the show. But I think there's every now and again, especially when we have a big launch like this, we have to sit back and we have to think about it for a minute and think, how did it get to this point? And which company was the driving force behind it? And the answer, of course, is Blizzard Entertainment. You can be thankful for it, you can criticise them for it, but out of all of the achievements that they've come up with and all of the achievements that they personally have gained, I think that is the single greatest thing they've ever done, and that is what they will be remembered for. My name is TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Time for some Churasas. Cursed be Iron. I'll be right back after this with my initial impressions of Wrath of the Lich King. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Please, exclusively for WoW Radio, WCRadio.com. Music has been removed due to copyright reasons. If you want to hear it, then you better tune in live on Fridays at 5:30 EST, that's 10:30 British Standard Time, on WCRadio.com.
Creative, innovative, and cutting edge. If that describes you, you need to listen up now. YouKnowSolutions.com. Get this, programmable LEDs for all your hobbies. You can add a custom kick to all your creations, whether it be display cases, building sets, models, computer case mods, anything you want to light up or customize. The only limit is your creativity. Go to YouKnowSolutions.com today and don't get left in the dark. www.YouKnowSolutions.com.
Yes, indeed, the sounds of Churasas with Cursed be Iron. And I don't know about you, but that sounds really Northrendy. I like that. It's very Howling Fjord for me. Got the very Celtic themes going on there, even though I'm well aware that they're certainly not Scottish. My name is TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Please on WoW Radio, and we talk about World of Warcraft on this show. And if you want to get involved, you can do so. Email me, themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Murloc is not spelt with a K, you heretics. It's not spelled with a K. themurloc@gmail.com, and you can get your ideas in for the last segment of the show that we like to call the Illusion of Choice, and I don't actually have the horrible sound sample with me, so that's probably for the best. So we're going to give it a new sound sample, which sounds something like this. Yes, the Illusion of Choice. Yes, I am forcing you to make a choice between submitting something for the Illusion of Choice and not submitting something for the Illusion of Choice. Email me, themurloc@gmail.com, with your idea for the last 15 minutes of the show, and I will pick the best one, because it's an illusion of choice, it's not actually a real choice, and I will then force myself to do that particular topic, regardless of how terrible it might be. So yes, the Illusion of Choice! Yeah! That is totally inappropriate, isn't it? But it's so great. I love that sound. Now, before I go on, I have a duty to perform. Indeed. I need to give a special shout-out, and I don't usually do this in the middle of the show. I'm going to give a special shout-out to Bunkerface and all his friends. Bunkerface particularly has been helping me out with various different things, and he's an awesome bloke. Big fan of Bunkerface. And as such, I'm going to say, thank you, Bunkerface, for everything you've done over the past few weeks. You have been fantastic. Now, let's get back on with this, shall we? Wrath the Lich King, first impressions. Now, I have always hated questing. And yet, for some reason, Wrath of the Lich King seems to be a little bit more enjoyable for me. Now, I'd like to go into the ideas behind that and as to why questing in Wrath of the Lich King seems to be a little bit more fun than in the previous expansion and, of course, Classic WoW over the next 15 or so minutes. Yes, TotalBiscuit liking questing. It's the end of the world, the sky is falling! And it sounds like that. I just wanted an excuse to press the button, I'll be brutally honest with you. Never mind. I need to get one of those little things that you could just press random buttons and all sorts of things can happen, you know. Stop. Now. Behave yourself. Right. I think Wrath has got something that no other MMO has managed to successfully pull off. Yet. Now, you want to know why? Well, I'm going to tell you why. If you don't want to know why, I don't care, you're going to find out anyway. This is what I think Wrath has got that is making it more enjoyable to play. It's not just making it more enjoyable to play, it's changing the whole way we're looking at MMORPGs. Yes, I'm going to make a statement that outrageous. Why am I going to make a statement that outrageous? Well, here's the reason. Wrath of the Lich King has a strong narrative which is totally and completely and utterly unprecedented in MMORPGs. Yes. Now, of course, you're now aghast. You're perhaps falling off your chairs. Perhaps you might fall on something that is valuable. You will crush it. You will be upset. And it will not be my fault, because it was your fault that you put it there in the first place. And you'll be saying, TotalBiscuit, why on earth would you, of all people, the person who hates the lore, the person who doesn't even read the quest text, care about the narrative? Well, it's got one particular thing which the other two... I'd say the other two expansions, that's not really true. The expansion, Burning Crusade, and Classic WoW had. And that is a proactive antagonist. Yes, what do I mean by proactive antagonist? TotalBiscuit is using words that might be slightly too long. Perhaps he is a member of the liberal elite. Well, we shall find out. A proactive antagonist is an antagonist that goes out of his way to interfere with what you are doing. Who is the antagonist in Wrath of the Lich King? Come on, I could give you a... I suppose I could give you a drum roll, but actually I don't really have a drum here. I had a keyboard and a whistle. With, I don't suppose that any counts. Anyway, we'll do a drum roll. There you go, drum roll. I need drum roll sound sample. The answer, of course, is Arthas, the one and only Lich King. He is your antagonist. He is an omnipresent enemy. And I do mean omnipresent because he's all over the place. He's an omnipresent enemy that at every turn he seems to appear and muck things up for you. And I'm not kidding. Examples. You'll have seen Arthas all over the place. One example of something I was doing. I was up in Howling Fjord doing the quest in the big area whose name I cannot pronounce, which is some kind of necromantic thing. Some kind of school of necromantic ballet, as it were. And there were all sorts of kind of crazy undead things. And I went in there. And I saw a queen trying to resummon her king, some kind of lord who I cannot pronounce his name of, and I got a drop quest to kill the queen. So I killed the queen. I'm like, okay, great, now let's go and get the lord. But no, out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere, comes Arthas, and Arthas tells the lord, who is in the, halfway through being summoned, that he has other purposes for him, and he's going to set him up in Utgard Pinnacle, and he even says, if these insects manage to get there, he will get his chance to have revenge for the death of his wife. Now, on first glance, that might not seem such a big deal, but think about it. How many other examples of things like that were there in the Burning Crusade in Classic Legacy WoW? Indeed, when you were leveling up in Classic Legacy WoW, was there a single omnipresent antagonist? Indeed, was there a single proactive antagonist at any point in the story? Answer, no, there wasn't. Certainly nowhere near to this degree. What you had were disjointed zones, and they were disjointed zones. You went from one place to another, doing quests that were seemingly completely unrelated to each other, and then you reached endgame, and then you saw all these other antagonists that had done nothing, and I do mean nothing. There's no evidence of their handiwork anywhere on the map. Ragnaros, nowhere. He's in a cave. He can't even move. He's asleep. He's not doing anything. Nefarian, where do we see him? You know, we've got all this little storyline that was written as background lore and wasn't actually part of the game, but it was written as background lore for the Blackwing Lair patch. What do we see? Nothing. He's just sitting up there. You know, we might see him once in UBRS, once, and it doesn't matter. He doesn't really do anything, and he's supposed to be plotting world domination? What do we see? Nothing. We then get, of course, AQ20 and 40, where they seem to be getting the idea with a world event. They were getting there, but again, not omnipresent. It only affected a few very small areas in the world, and it seemed very disjointed. It was like, well, especially if we weren't at the level 60 raid game or interested in Cthulhu or anything like that, or the Courage, you'd be thinking, well, what's going on here? And again, they were moving somewhat towards it with the introduction of Naxxramas and the events surrounding Naxxramas. But never really getting there. It's stuff that was patched in later. It's stuff that was kind of added on. It wasn't there from the beginning. So Burning Crusade, what do we get? Well, we go into Burning Crusade, and you think maybe there's an alternative to... You know, alternative? What the heck am I talking about? An opportunity. Yes, a great opportunity to bring in this proactive antagonist, and there isn't one at all. You know, you see a couple of things. You see, like, what's-his-face, the Calculator. You see him in Hellfire, and then again, of course, you see him up in Mechanar. You see him. So he's kind of a sort of proactive antagonist, but you only, like, see him in one zone. What else have you got? Well, you got Illidan. Well, you don't see Illidan at all until Blackwing Lair. At all. You see Magtheridon, but Magtheridon's kind of locked in the bottom of a basement somewhere. You know, he's one of those 35-year-old neckbeard 4th edition D&D dwellers. He's not doing anything in the world. He's not causing any machinations or evil to happen. And you think, well, what about Kil'jaeden and all that kind of thing? Yeah, but the evidence of his handiwork isn't there, except for there being demons everywhere. That's not good enough. It's not a storytelling mechanic. Yeah, oh, demons, hundreds of them, great, fantastic, we see demons. But who cares who brought them in, whether it was Archimon, Sargeras, or all these other crazy people in the lore that I don't give two hoots about. So we come into Wrath. And what do we see? Well, if you play a Death Knight, you see Arthas. If you go into the zone and you start there, it's Arthas. You see Arthas everywhere. He is all over the place. As someone so aptly put it, I was actually reading a thread on Something Awful forums. It's a thread dutifully mocking, and rightly so, Tim Buckley of Control-Alt-Delete infamy and his terrible drawing style. He did a really awful cartoon. I'm going to bring it up right now. Because I think Buckley's idiocy is very relevant to this particular conversation. So, off you go, guys. cad-comic.com. Don't go to it again because it's really bad. Now, here we go. Latest comic. You've got it here. And you have a really terribly drawn picture of a skeleton and the Lich King. It's like words, but I'll say it for you. And he says, "My lord, some of us were wondering, shouldn't you be out, spreading your wrath? Spreading it to whom? The couple of super nerds who are already level 80, I think their lives are sad enough without me going out there to kick them in the teeth. Well, or do you just expect to stroll into downtown Stormwind to start handing out some wrath, ganking newbies? Is that what you expect of me? No. I have to sit here, probably for weeks, while some girl finally gets it together enough to kill me. So until then, here I am on my effing ice chair while everyone else in Northrend gets to have fun. Okay." And then the skeleton, of course, says, okay, whatever you want, bitch king. Oh, Buckley, you're awful! You can't even come up with a good joke. The thing is, he's wrong as well. It's not even based on fact. It's because he doesn't play the game. He's a moron. It's like, oh, the guys who play WoW are super nerds. Furiously plays war. Pot calling the kettle black. He's a bloody hypocrite and he can't draw his way out of a paper bag. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that this is its exact opposite to what is actually happening. You see him all over the place. His hand is everywhere. You see him pop up. And having this antagonist helps drive a story. Now, think about it this way. What's the difference between an MMORPG and a single-player RPG? Here's the difference. A single-player RPG is primarily story-driven, and it's linear. Yeah? So, to be a good linear game, it's got to be story-driven, right? Because otherwise, why would you play it? It's just you going through a rat maze, and that's really not all that fun. But if you drive it with a good enough plot, good enough story progression, and character progression, then yes, you will play it. Now, MMOs have been lacking that. Well, why? There's pretty blatant obvious why. How do you have character progression when you have 11 million characters? You can't. You simply cannot do it. However, what they've realised, and this is, I think, a stroke of genius on their part, is that by having a proactive antagonist, you can drive people forward to discover the story. And it links the quests together, it links the areas together, and everything feels like a cohesive story all the way up to 80, and sure, it might be a bit grindy. Most RPGs are, MMOs particularly so. But I'll be honest, I've got myself to level 71, and I've been questing, and because of this antagonist that they've got in there, and the intrigue surrounding the Lich King and his conspiracies and his plots, and the fact that he seems to be around every single corner, giving you the finger while you get ganked, just for comedy effect, that has made me care more about the storyline. And because I'm caring more about the storyline, I'm enjoying questing more. Sure, I've installed Quest Helper because I don't like looking for things. I don't mind reading quest text, but I don't like looking for things. I like to be pointed in the direction I need to go. I say, if you're going to make the game linear, make it really linear by installing Quest Helper. It's great. So, I found myself enthralled by the quest lines as a direct result of this proactive antagonist. I never thought I'd hear myself say that. I'm stunned. I really am. There's plenty of bad things in this expansion that I've already noticed, and no doubt there'll be plenty more. And I'll be going on to that, of course, in the next section, but credit where credit is due. Making me enjoy questing? That is ridiculous. That's never happened before. And they've managed to do it with this fantastic idea that the whole storyline is driven by Arthas. And he's there from the very beginning. And you see him. It's not Illidan. He's not hidden away. It's not Ragnaros. He's not hidden away. Or Nefarian. Or Cthulhu. Or Kel'Thuzad. He's not hidden away. He comes out and he gets his hands dirty and he gets involved. And he screws things up for you. And yet, it's part of a linear quest progression. But think about it this way. If that happened in a normal single-player RPG and there were no other players there, would you consider that to be good storyline progression? The answer, of course, is yes. You might turn around and say, oh, well, it's different in an MMO because everyone gets to do it. Why? Treat it as a single-player game, because now it's actually strong enough, at least in my opinion, the leveling up is strong enough for it to be a single-player game, because of all this story tying it together is so much stronger than it was. And that's how I'm treating it. At least, you know, obviously I'm going to go into instances and raid with them. Absolutely. And back when I get to 80, I'll get back into the raid game and I'll enjoy it because the raid game's great and instances are great and all this other good stuff. But while I'm leveling up, I'm finding myself enjoying something that I never used to enjoy before because I'm treating it as a single-player RPG and it's playing like one. It really is. It's playing like one. Because the story is tying it together so well. And it's actually really, genuinely, 110% fun. Wow. Never thought I'd say that. Be going crazy. So you can have that one, Blizzard, I'll give it to you. You did a good job. Very good job. I've criticised Blizzard an awful lot in the past. And I will continue to criticise Blizzard today, I can guarantee you that. But I think they really knew what they were doing. And I wasn't excited about Wrath before I got a hold of this copy in my hand. I was not excited by it. And yet when I started playing it, it sucked me right in the way that nothing else has. Not even when the original launch of WoW, not even the Burning Crusade. It sucked me in because it's kind of tapped into my love of RPGs and the love of a strong storyline, tying it all together. So well done. Well done. My name is TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Please. It's time for some Notificate News, folks. Enjoy.
Live from the Blue Please Tower in Howling Fjord, it's Nutcake News with award-winning anchor TotalBiscuit, bringing you all the news that matters, whether you realize it or not.
Welcome to this week's Nutcake News. My name is TotalBiscuit, and this is my Black Ice. Damn racial equality standards. In the headlines today, as the economic downturn threatens to drown us all in the pits of poverty, a new threat has begun to emerge. Hidden in the guise of strange travellers from the north, we are getting reports of massive illegal immigration into Azeroth, threatening the livelihoods of ordinary, hard-working Azerothians everywhere. With more on the story, go to our economic correspondent, TotalBiscuit. TJB, are you hearing us?
Loud and clear, partner. I'm standing at the Stormwind Harbour where boatloads of these stinking foreigners are boarding our shores unopposed. The guards are standing by and doing nothing. The King of Stormwind himself is silent on the matter. The local residents of the city have formed some kind of rudimentary militia and are arming themselves with as much rotten fruit as they can carry. But this doesn't seem to be holding back the unending tide of illegal immigrants onto our fair shores. What accent is that exactly, and do we have any reports as to who these people might be? I think people is a strong word there. You're not by any chance one of them commie pinkos, are you? Well, I voted Palin. Does that make me okay? No, TB, that just makes you an idiot, but regardless, these foreigners come from the frigid waste of Northrend, and until recently they were all under the employ of the Lich King, the much-feared business tycoon whose corporate HQ stands in Icecrown. Due to the economic crisis, he had to, quote, let some of them go, and with job opportunities rather thin on the ground over there, and all the good snow-shoveling careers taken by those damn Tuskar, they've packed themselves into boats and come over here to take our jibs. Tell me, TJB, what exactly is the difference between a normal job and a jib? Well, the jibs are ours, and they're ticking them, that's what. Very succinct, thank you. Joining us in the studio today is the head of the Azerothian Workers' Union, Gammon, who has been organising lightning raids on these so-called interlopers. Gammon, thanks to you for joining us today. A pleasure to be here, sir. A pleasure, yes. What can you tell us about these new arrivals? They call themselves Death Knights, and from what I've seen so far, the situation is shockingly grim and dark, and going very dark. Sounds frightening. Tell us which of these jibs they've been ticking. That's the problem, see? They'll do anything, literally anything, and much cheaper than any of our honest workers. They don't have the kind of training we do. Days, weeks, months of grinding to 55. No. They just come over here and jump right in. It's downright dangerous. They don't know what they're doing. Sooner or later, someone's going to get hurt. But couldn't it be said they're just doing the jobs that nobody else wants? Well, it's true that the tanking market has been seeing something of a downturn lately. It's a good, honest, hard-working career. The problem is the schools. All the kids want to do these days is DPS. They think it's glamorous and an easy ride. Nobody wants to get down and dirty anymore. Oh, no. Well, they're in for a shock, because these Death Knights are ticking those jibs, too. No, can't be. DPS, too? Is nothing sacred? Well, I suppose at least they can't heal. Oh, I wouldn't be so sure of that, sir. Mark my words. Give it a month and we won't have any jibs left for them to tick. They'll have taken over the entire world, robbed us of our national identity. Something has to be done about it before it's too late. Thank you, Gammon. We go now by satellite to the spokesman of Equal Rights for Death Knights, Anubarak Hussein Obomina.
Thank you, TB. It's good to be here.
Hang on a moment. Didn't you used to work at Naxxramas theme park?
I still do. With this economic downturn, many of us have had to take a second job to stay afloat. You know how it is.
Yes, I suppose that makes sense. How do you respond to the accusation that Death Knights are coming into Azeroth and taking jobs that rightfully belong to the other 9 classes?
For too long, Death Knights have been treated as second-class citizens. Now we have the chance to do what has been for so long denied to us. Achieve equality with the other classes. Death Knights are hard-working, loyal, and bring their own tools and gear. They require no lengthy training or mollycoddling. They can get the job done, and should be respected for that.
And how would you suggest the denizens of Azeroth adapt to this change in working conditions?
Serve the Master as the mindless living dead.
What?
Then diversify into the manufacture of beds. It gets awfully chilly up here. A nice warm quilt wouldn't go amiss.
I see. Well, sound economic advice there. Is there anything you'd like to say to the workers of Azeroth who are struggling to survive right now?
Continue to struggle. It will make you tastier when your demise comes. Glory to Azul.
Thank you, Arak. Very motivational. So, as you can see, nothing to worry about. This has been Nubcake News at... Wait, what? They replaced me with a Death Knight? Clear my desk? I've been tricked! I'll get you for this, Arak! Yes, quite. This has been Northrend News. Good night.
You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Please, exclusively for WoW Radio, WCRadio.com. Music has been removed due to copyright reasons. If you want to hear it, then you better tune in live on Fridays at 5:30 EST, that's 10:30 British Standard Time, on WCRadio.com.
Let's face it, everywhere you go, you see adverts for Ventrilo server providers. With so many to choose from, how do you make the decision about which is right for you and your guild? To help you with the decision, we brought in WoW Radio's very own bleeding-edge hardcore raiders to show you which provider the world's top players trust.
Loot the stupid car hound!
No. Tank it over there. You're setting the raid on fire.
Someone pulled ads, guys!
Oh, for God's sakes! Heal the tank! Heal the tank!
Hey, guys, it's okay to DI the tank, right?
Why are you smiting and not healing?
Is that a halibut? Are you DPSing with a halibut?
Leave George alone! You'll hurt his feelings!
You named that halibut?
Guys, I think we're wiping.
What gave you that idea?
Well, we're all standing in the graveyard arguing. UGT Ventrilo servers, the only choice for the elite of the elite. Hi, I'm TotalBiscuit, the best and sexiest mage on the planet. When you're like me, you don't have downtime between raids and promotional photo shoots. That's why I use UGT Ventrilo servers. I don't have to get my hands dirty trying to fix a broken server because it was never broken to begin with. UGT servers provide crystal clear voice communication with excellent hands-on support to make sure your server is always up and running. Not only that, their prices are so low, I was able to use the extra money to buy this £32 salmon. What, you didn't think I was going to be outdone by Dustin, did you? Hey guys, want to run some BRD? Get your premium quality Ventrilo server from UGTservers.com. Be the best. Well, second best.
Yes, indeed, the sounds of Foreigner cold as ice. Come on, don't tell me it wasn't appropriate. My name is TotalBiscuit. I almost said my name is Blue, please, and this is the TotalBiscuit Show. Yeah. Awesome. I do with puppets and everything. Right. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, TotalBiscuit's obviously gone soft in this hiatus that he's been on. He's not insulted Blizzard once in this show. Okay, that's about to change. You didn't think I was going to let Blizzard get off entirely scot-free, did you? Well, I want to talk a little bit about the kind of challenges that Blizzard are probably going to end up facing over the next few months. But what I'd like to initially say is if you want to get your topics in for the illusion of choice, then do so by emailing themoloch@gmail.com. And we have a new sample for that, which has no sense whatsoever. It's the illusion of choice! Yes. I'm shattering your dreams. That's the noise. If I were able to shatter your dreams over the internet, which I'm pretty sure I am, that would be what it sounded like. Assuming you weren't deaf with despair! Yeah. Right. Let's talk about this. Blizzard hasn't got everything entirely right. No. Right, well, here's the thing. I see... I don't even know what I'm about to say, do I? I was going to kind of launch into this tirade, and I hadn't even thought of a staging point for it, so I'm like... I sound like a ghoul. It's horrible. Let's start it again. Let's rewind. Yep. So, here's the problem with Blizzard. Blizzard has got all of these great ideas, and they put all of these great ideas into the game to stop all of these horrible things from happening. And I'm going to tell you what those horrible things are in a minute. And yet, they didn't use them enough, so they happened anyway! Okay, let's think about this for a moment. What are the two big problems? Actually, do I have two big problems? No, actually, I don't. Let's go with this. What is the one big problem with the launch of an expansion? Well, here's the answer. The one big problem with the launch of an expansion is because everybody starts in the same area. But it's okay, because Blizzard fixed that by splitting the huge horde of people in half. So it's okay, you've only got half of 75 billion in one area instead of the full 75 billion. Great. Awesome. Not. Now, here's the problem. With so many people, you have issues competing for quests. And Blizzard thought of a couple of cool ways around that in the Burning Crusade, you might remember. Couple of ways. The first, the flagging method. The flagging method involves killing something and then dumping a flag on its corpse, or dumping a flag in an area. What that basically means is that you can do it without having to actually tag the mob. It didn't matter if you tagged the mob or not, you could flag it. You could stick a stake in it, a flag in it, whatever. The second method was something which I've forgotten. Yes, the pickup method. And the pickup method involved this. The killing of a quest mob would drop an item which would stay on the floor and could be picked up by anybody. It wouldn't be necessarily on the corpse, it would be like an item that appeared on the ground and you could click it, and regardless of whether or not you killed the mob, you were able to get the quest item. Now, that was pretty smart. Well, it was very smart, in fact. Some people complained about it because then, oh, well, there's all these people just going around and stealing our quests. I'm sorry, that's kind of like the RIAA's argument. You're stealing our songs. What? I mean, do you have less of them now that I took them? Now, the way that it works is that quests aren't ever all that hard. And if you object to somebody else kind of piggybacking on you, then, well, I think there's a few more important things to worry about in your life, fella. Anyway, it was a good method, and it made sure that particularly desirable quest mobs were not over-farmed, over-camped, and all that kind of thing. And you'd think that they might kind of carry that on just a little bit into the Burning Crusade. The Burning Crusade. There's too many expansions, it hurts my head. Yes. Wrath of the Lich King is what I'm talking about. I have a drumstick in my right hand. Why is this? I don't know, but I'm going to wave it at the screen in a menacing manner, because it gets my point across. Now, they put it in some places, but not all. For instance, there's an early quest which involves the killing of various mobs until these, I say boss mobs, they're not really, these named mobs appear. Now, it doesn't matter if you kill them or not, you get to stake them with a flag. Yeah? It doesn't matter if you're the one who killed them or tagged them. As long as you did, I think you might have to do some damage to them, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, if you don't kill it, you can still flag it. You stick a flag in its corpse, and that's it. That's you winning the quest. Good method. Why is it a good method? Because if there's 55 people there, it's still pretty easy to do, because you're not being stopped. What are the ones we got? Well, we don't really have any of the dropping on the ground style quests, at least nothing I've seen so far. But what we do have, unfortunately, are the old style quests. I'm going to name two for you that I think are the worst things ever devised by man. First one goes by the name of adding injury to insult. This quest involves you taking an item, and this item is a scroll, and it has a horrible insult about this boss's mother and farm animals. I'm not actually kidding, this is the actual quest text here. And you've got to go and insult this guy, and you've then got to lead him into a trap and kill him. Or you can solo him if you happen to be an arcane mage, which I found rather amusing. But anyway, there's a problem with this. Firstly, this mob flies in from the sky every 10 or so minutes. So you think, okay, that'll be fine, we'll just read the insult to him. Wrong! It's not that easy, because you can't read the insult to him until he lands, and then you've got to read the insult to him. It's about a 4-second cast. But only one person could do it! At a time! I'm not kidding. The quest requires you not only to kill him, but to also have read the insult to him. So, if you are not part of a group that has read the insult to him, and indeed I've actually heard reports that people who have been in groups where the insult has been read have not actually got that part of the quest, but I'm not going to go too much into that because that sounds just like a bug rather than an intentional design flaw. Anyway, one group grabs it, or one guy grabs it before you because of latency or whatever reason. You have to wait another 10 minutes! It's awful! Why did they do that? Come on! I mean, you came up with all these methods, you could have obviously seen this coming. And it's not the only one, there's another one which involves the spawning of 3 specific mobs. And you have to go kill them. I think it's like... I can't remember the name of the quest, I'm not even going to pretend. It's across from Vengeance Landing. It involves killing these 3 named mobs. And... again, these mobs spawn, and if you don't tag them, of course, you don't get the kill. No flag method, no drop method. You just don't get it. You have to wait around for ages. I was having to deal with guys that grouped up in huge groups and just start spamming Holy Nova over and over and over again. And they, of course, the ones that tagged the mob as soon as it spawned. Standing wherever it spawned. No random spawns, anything like that. Spawns to the same place every time. The drumstick's in my hand again. So agitated to get it. And it's not the only one. Here's another quest. It goes by the name of the Artifact of Steel Gate. The Artifacts of Steel Gate involves you getting 10 of these things which you click on. They're bits of stone, tablets, whatever. Now, here's the problem with these stone tablets. You'd think, if there were quest items on the ground, like in previous quests, that if there's, you've seen these before. There's quite a few quests where you've got to collect a certain number of these quest items that are hidden or lying around on the ground. And you'll click them, but you'll have to go then click another one, but they won't disappear. So other people can do it. These ones disappear. Not only that, but it's a very small area. And there's loads of mobs. And there's like 100 people there. I'm not kidding. It's the most infuriating thing. This place is this giant quarry, so I'm thinking, hey, I'm a mage, I could slow jump, I could base jump. So I start doing it, I start base jumping to try and grab these tablets, and of course I'm floating down there like, yeah, gonna get the tablet, yeah, I'm flying through the air, I'm awesome, gotta grab the tablet, there's a rogue there, oh no! And the rogue grabs it just before I land, and it happens every time. And it makes me want to scream! Really? Why did they do that? Come on! You know better. It stinks of inconsistent design choices to me, and I don't get why they did it. Because they already have mechanisms that work against it. They knew there was going to be problems like this, which is why they had the 2 starting zones to begin with. Admittedly, relatively good idea. Okay, it's not a bad idea. I mean, admittedly, half of a lot of people is still a lot of people. But it's not a bad idea. You'd think that they would, of course, have emphasized this and made it better by ensuring that all of the quests are flag quests, or that these things where you have to pick quest items off the ground, they don't disappear when someone else grabs them. And they don't have a really long respawn time. Because that's horrible. That's not fun. I want to get through my quests, and I'm sitting there for an hour trying to get one quest done because I'm a kind of a completionist. I try to get all the quests done. Because I'm enjoying the story, and this has actually stopped me from enjoying the story. Because I want to get all these quest lines done to see how the story goes along. You've got me into the story now, Blizzard, and now you're going to bear the consequences, because you've now got in the way of the storytelling by having badly designed quests. And don't get me wrong, a lot of these quests are really fun. There's a lot of really cool quests with some pretty unique ideas. Awful lot of quests which involve the use of items given out for quests, and I like that, because that makes them very unique. There's like a quest where you kill spores, and you freeze them on the ground. I think that's a pretty cool idea, except for the fact that 75% of the spores are evade booked. I'm not kidding, it's not impossible to do that quest on my realm. Because the ones that aren't evade booked get nabbed. It's horrible, it really is. But it's like, come on, it's 2 steps forward and then a step back. I'm not going to say 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, because it's not true. It's not, but it is getting in the way of me enjoying the story, and that's something that I think needs to be fixed. And it concerns me. And the reason it concerns me is because we've seen bugs before, and they've carried over, particularly to raiding. That's a bad thing. We know Naxxramas has been tested to death. Absolutely. And it has. Indeed, there's not an awful lot of raid instances available. Nowhere near as many as with TBC. I mean, let's think about it. How many do we have? We had the 10-man Karazhan, we had Gruul's Lair, we had Mike Theroden's Lair, we had TotalBiscuit, and we had the one and only Zip and Try and Gavin. Now, pretty much all of those were bugs in one way or another on launch, and it got worse the higher up you got. I mean, the TK was awful. SSC was awful. They had a 45-minute mob respawn time. It made you want to stab yourself in the eyes. It was horrendous. Mike Theroden was bugged. Gruul was bugged and indeed overbuffed. They had to nerf him. They had to nerf, like, everything for anyone except for Nihilum to be able to kill him. Nihilum to kill him. You like that? It's great. They're not actually Nihilum anymore, by the way, but I'm sure the Wild Things Considered crew will be talking about that right after the show. It's coming up in half an hour. Pluggity plug, plug, plug. Now, it concerns me because this is one of the issues that Blizzard has had, and that's QA. They make very polished games, but then they don't QA the stupidest things. It's like these quests. These quests are starting quests. Please tell me why they don't work. I mean, come on! Don't tell me they weren't tested. What about the instances? What about the raids? You've got to think that people are going to be in this content, and they're going to rattle down, they're going to shake down that content more than anything else. That it's got to be perfect. It's got to work. And it just concerns me. It's like, have you not learned anything? Surely you must have learned something when it comes to bug testing. It scares me a little bit, and I don't like being scared. I'm worried about it. But we'll see. It's not perfect. Wrath is not perfect, and no doubt I'm going to be finding many more things to complain about, including the fact that everyone's a blinking Death Knight and they're all taking my gerbs. Although I wish some of them would actually tank. I'll tell you that. We've got a shortage of tanks, but of course, most of them haven't got to level 70 yet, but some have. And they're going DPS. It's like, I don't want you for DPS. I don't want another DPS class. I want a tank. Give me tanks. We've got a shortage of them. Everyone's trying to DPS right now. Leave the DPS to the proper classes, like the mages, and the mages. It's a pretty reasonable request. It's min-maxing. You take the best class for the job, which is always a mage, regardless of the role. Healing, mages. Tanking, mages. Hybrid class, mages. Take mages. We even bring food and everything. We've got like crazy focus magic buff. It's great. So yeah, please, Blizzard, don't muck it up. Don't muck it up. I mean, people are going to keep buying your expansions. I think you already know that. And you've already got a great reputation. I think you already know that too. Wrath's a good product. It's a very good product. It's got a whole bunch of really cool stuff in it. It's simple mistakes. It's simple silliness. It's tripping up on issues that you shouldn't be tripping up on after 4 years of development time. And of course, it's been in development for way longer. You shouldn't be tripping up on that kind of thing. We've got certain expectations now, and you've set those expectations as one of the few PC companies that hasn't got a horrible reputation for doing really bad things. EA. You've got this rep, and you've got to maintain it. And you've got this great content, and it's got to be maintained. It's got to work first before you keep it maintained and stop it from breaking. Get it fixed. Get it fixed fast. Because it is annoying people. And you're advancing all sorts of different areas. Really. The storytelling arc is second to none. It's great. I love the fact that it's advanced in that direction. But you came up with all these great ideas, and you're not using them. You have changed a few things around, like the multi-wing dungeons. There aren't any of those anymore. It's like one and then a raid, one and then a raid. But, that's something we can talk about in future shows. My concern is that you've got all these great ideas for making questing easier and more user-friendly, especially in high-population areas and servers, and then you abandon them for 3/4 of the questing. I don't get it. Why do that? Why do that? It just wastes people's time. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. I want to send this one out to the one and only lovely Jennifer Henderson, who's not actually called Jennifer Henderson anymore. She's called Jennifer Bain. Finally, she's got her name changed to mine. It's great. She doesn't have that silly name at the end. I really need to stop talking now before I get in more trouble. So this goes out to the one and only love of my life, my wife, Ariana, also known as Jennifer Bain, in the real world, which is not all that exciting, I must say. Real world sucks. Let's play some Wrath. This is Sonata Arctica. I thought this was very appropriate. This is Shaman Dali. I'll be right back after this with the illusion of choice, which you can email into themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. My name is TotalBiscuit. This is Blue Please. This goes out to Jen. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast, an archive of Blue Please, exclusively for WoW Radio, WCRadio.com. Music has been removed due to copyright reasons. If you want to hear it, then you better tune in live on Fridays at 5:30 EST, that's 10:30 British Standard Time, on WCRadio.com.
Hello, sir. Welcome to Game Shop. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I'd like a WoW time card, please.
Okay. Just give me a minute. While you're at it, would you like to pre-order a copy of the new EverQuest expansion?
Not especially, no. I don't play EverQuest 2.
Oh, that's okay. We meant the original EverQuest. So, shall I put you down for $5 on the pre-order?
No, I don't play either EverQuest 1 or 2, just WoW. Can I get a time card, please?
Sure. While you're here, would you like to sign up for our discount card? It's only $25 and you get 10% off all used console games.
Well, I'll be honest, I only come here a couple of times a year and I don't even own any consoles, so could I just get the time card?
Sure. Time cards. Oops, sorry. Looks like we're all out. We should be getting some next week. Why don't you try another game? We've got a great deal on RF Online this week when you buy 3 copies of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I'll see myself out.
Hey, are you interested in putting down a reservation on that door?
Let's be honest here. Why waste time when you don't have to? If you need codes and you need them now, the place to get them is MMOcodes.com. Fast delivery, great prices, and a wide variety of games to choose from. MMOcodes.com is the place for time codes and product keys. Get everything you need from MMOcodes.com. Game codes provided by gamers for gamers.
Yes, indeed, the sounds of Shaman Dali by Sonata Arctica. It's all a power ballad, you heathens, good lord. I can't believe how many people those like, rock? Love song? Does not compute? Like, are you kidding me? You've never heard of a power ballad? Good lord. What kind of backwards country do you live in? My name is TotalBiscuit, this is Blue Please on WoW Radio. Got about 20 minutes left of the show, and then I'll be handing over to the guys with WoW Things Considered. I've got a couple of plugs to do before I go on with the illusion of choice. Yes, the illusion of choice! We should probably change to the disillusion of choice, and I shall shatter it. I love that sound. Anyway, stop about it. Right, you may or may not have heard about a new show we've got called Pug. It aired its pilot on Saturday, and there were a few things wrong with it. It was a little bit rough around the edges, but it seemed to be pretty entertaining, and I'm going to get that fixed for tomorrow. But yeah, we'll be on this week with the one and only Starman. Yes, indeed, Starman of World of Warcraft fame. who we like very much. And yes, we do actually like some other podcasts, as much as people get the impression that I hate everything that competes with me. It's not entirely true. It's only most things and bad things. So, thankfully, Warcast isn't a bad show by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll be having the one and only Starman on the show, and it'll be myself, Terpster, and I believe Ariana might be putting in an appearance. We shall see. If she beats me at the quiz, I'm never going to live it down. If you haven't already checked out Pug, you should go and do that. A very interesting concept. It's a laid-back panel show with special guests and a quiz at the end, and Terpster derailing everything. Go and check it out. It's WCRadio.com. You can click our archives. You can check us out on iTunes. If you used to be subscribed to the WoW Insider Show on our RSS feed, don't worry about it. Just stay subscribed to that, and Pug will actually come through there. We'll convert the RSS feed, as we often do with some of our older shows. We'll convert it over to new shows that are relevant, which is exactly what we've done. So you don't have to lift a finger. We'll come straight through to iTunes and all other popular podcast subscription programs. Yes, indeed. Now, I'd like to tell you a little story before I go into the illusion of choice, which will also give you a couple of minutes to submit any topics that you wish to do last minute. So email me, themurloc@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'll be picking one of these rubbish topics. Now, here's the thing. It's interesting to listen to the ad that we just played because of it says welcome to Game Shop and the incompetent people. Now, I was in Newcastle yesterday, which is a relatively large city in the northeast of England, probably the largest city in the northeast of England. Now, it's got a couple of stores from Game Stores Group, which is actually a place I used to work for a couple of years, and I was wandering around. I just decided, because it was the day after Rattle launch, I'd have a look around and see who had collector's editions. And I walked into HMV and I went down to the basement, which is where they keep all their games. It's a nice gaming section. It's got a whole bunch of consoles and everything set up. And they had stockpiles of collector's edition, reasonably priced. They weren't gouging at all. They had collector's edition on display, loads of them. Like, must be at least 30, 40 of them. I'm thinking, hey, that's pretty cool. So I walk into Game Station. They don't have any. And I walk into Game. They don't have any. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with this picture? So I'm hanging around Game just looking to see if there's anything decent I can spend my £5 that I have on my Game reward card on, but to be honest I don't really need to because I've got all this great stuff that I need to finish first. But anyway, that's not the point. I just acquire things. I'm like a pack rat when it comes to games. And I heard a guy asking the manager, and, you know, do you have any collector's editions? And the reaction of the manager for me was like ridiculous. It was like, you know, oh no, we don't have any of those. Those are only for pre-order customers. And the guy it's like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed, as you might expect, and picks up a copy of the normal copy of Wrath and goes in the queue. So I'm thinking, you know what? I don't like that manager's attitude, so I walk up to the guy and I said, hey, you want to know where, you know, and I say it loud so everyone in the queue can hear, and the manager, who's standing about 5 feet away, hey, you want to know where you can get some collector's editions? Well, it turns out that HMV got plenty of them in stock because they had some actual foresight. So if you want to go get some, go for it. They've only got them down there. And like 3 people walk out of the store and put their copies of Wrath back on the shelf. And I get daggers looked at me by the manager, and I just grin and walk out the store. And I feel okay sabotaging my ex-workplace. And the reason is that when TBC was launched, I actually did a launch event because I understood the idea behind World of Warcraft and what a great, you know, selling point it was, and how great the collector's editions were. So I actually requisitioned extra stock from head office via the regional manager, and I did this as a store clerk. Bear in mind, I wasn't a manager by that point or anything like that. I was just a store clerk with an idea. And you know what? We did a great day that day. And that, you know what that says to me? If you don't understand your product, why the hell are you selling it? Seriously. Incompetent fools. You're screwing yourself out of money. You're screwing people out of the opportunity to get what they want. That's the basis of commercial sales. Supply and demand, jackasses. Learn it. Hire me as your blinking supervisor. You need it, I can tell you that. Anyway, I think it's probably about time for the illusion of choice. So I'm going to pick a topic. We've got some really bad topics here. Really awful topics that I don't care in the slightest about. Someone's like, oh, pet classes, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about pet classes. I'm a mage. Go away. What else have we got? Leveling in Wrath. No, don't care. What else have we got? Is Illidan fat? That's a stupid topic. What else have we got? No, you know what? I'm going to pick Illy's topic. I'm actually going to pick Illy's topic. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose there. Yeah, Illy's topic. He's so lazy, Illy. He really is. You know, also known as Nick Lang, as Illyrian. And he says this: new Nax, good or bad? Oh, that's a little bit succinct of you. Nice and verbose, Illy. Anyway. Okay, well, let's have a little talk about that, because Nax is... it's something I'm in two minds about, but to be honest, I love Nax, and that's the thing, and that's the problem. A lot of people love Nax, and that's why they don't want it here. Why do they want it here? Because it's a reuse of content, and they've changed it. Nax is viewed by a lot of people, including myself, as the perfect raid instance, and I do mean the perfect raid instance. It really is. And you think, well, TotalBiscuit, why? Well, why is it the perfect raid instance? Well, there's a whole bunch of different reasons for that, but it was just really well designed in almost every respect. True story. It was. And I thought that that was very impressive, because it was something they'd been building to. They'd been building all the way up to this idea that they could have the perfect raid instance. And it was designed in wings, and you could go around it really any direction you wanted. And it had all these bosses which were challenging, and it had trash that was cool. It was pretty innovative, but there wasn't too much of it. And the loot was good. And it was challenging, and it was good. And there was pretty much no bugs in it, give or take. Unless you count the Nerubians. It was mostly bug-free. There was a couple of issues, especially with the Kel'Thuzad kill. They actually despawned for death and taxes, I believe. Also for Nihilum. But they got it fixed in the end. So, what's the problem with bringing that back? Well, it's a reuse of content, which I object to by default, because it's laziness. It's also a repurposing of content, because they're changing it. And that's a bad idea, because it was good enough to begin with. The problem is you have to change it, because you're now dealing with the idea that there's another class. You're also dealing with the idea that, you know, and you don't think about this now because this has become so natural to you, it's become so second nature, but Horde now have Paladins. And Alliance Star Shaman. That didn't happen. That wasn't in the original game. So you've got to change it for that as well. And now you've got to change it because you don't have 40 people. And now you've got to change it again because you've got a 10-man version. That's a risky business. It really is risky business because you're mucking about with a formula that worked in the first place. And I understand why. You can't keep the same formula because it doesn't apply anymore. It's not a balanced equation, as it were. Math was never my strong point, but I understand what an equation is, mostly. No? A plus B used to equal C. A plus B still equals C. The problem is we've moved on to D, E, F, and G now. You know, C is irrelevant. C is obsolete. We don't use C anymore. We're way beyond that. So we've got a situation where we're bringing back this great content with all these fun memories, and we're having to muck about with it. We're being forced to muck about with it because changes were made to the game by Blizzard themselves. So they've actually put themselves into a corner on that one. I think they're going to get a lot of objections from a lot of people. Whether or not that's justified, well, that's a really good question. I think some of it will be justified, but then again, I think some people really do have to realise, and this is myself included, I'm going to lump myself in with these people, that sometimes you have to make changes, and sometimes you're not going to like all of them, but it's for the greater good. It is for the greater good. I am looking forward to go back into Nax again, because Nax was great, and I never actually finished it, which sucked. I got up to Thaddeus, I believe. Yes, Thaddeus. Fun boss. Rather irritating when people mucked it up, as they frequently did. I'm actually in a new guild now, on Shattered Halls, which is a low-pop server, nice little place, and I'm in a guild called the Black Guard, and I'm going to be looking forward to doing some quality raiding with them. There's actually a couple of ex-guildies that I had in there, great friends, great people. I've got to give a quick shout out to Gorbag and Scarabia. Awesome people. Very cool. And I'm looking forward to getting some instancing done with them, assuming I can ever catch up with them. They're already level 73. Come on, guys, really, this is unfair. I'm such a slow leveler, it's so pathetic. I'm certainly looking forward to doing that. My concern, I think, more than anything, is that Naxxramas has been put out as the centerpiece, and the rest of the raiding seems to be very lackluster. It does. I don't know if they're going to be adding a new instance in very quickly, but the other two raid instances, well, there's three, technically. There's the Oculus, there's Utgard Pinnacle. I think, actually, hang on, I'm going to have to look this up. I'm terrible. I didn't do my research for the show. I heard the Oculus is a raid instance. Yeah? And then, Utgard Pinnacle, I think, is also a raid instance. Maybe. Possibly. Yeah. Could be. So, is that enough? I mean, Nax is big, don't get me wrong, but just how big? I mean, really? How big is it? Yeah, so it's actually, yeah, the Nexus, the Eye of Eternity, and the Vault of Archivon, and the Obsidian Sanctuary. There you go. Of course, I was talking completely out my ass. The Oculus isn't a raid instance. Still learning, folks, still learning. So yeah, the Obsidian Sanctum, and we've also got the Eye of Eternity, which is in the Nexus, and the Vault of Archivon. So you've got 4 raid instances there, and some of them are apparently going to be relatively small. So I've been told. Indeed, the Vault of Archivon is actually in Wintergrasp. You have to actually access it by winning the Wintergrasp PvP zone, and it's only one boss, Archivon the Stonewatcher. So that's like your Onyxia. You've also got the Obsidian Sanctum. The Obsidian Sanctum also, at least as far as I can tell, assuming that Wowhead is correct, only has one boss. It's Sartharian, the Onyx Guardian. So that's like your Magtheridon, I guess, or your Gruul, or anything like that. Then you got the next, the Eye of Eternity, which has also only one boss, which is Malagos. At least, so Wowhead claims. Again, they could have added a whole bunch of stuff. Then you got Naxxramas, which is Xbox Huge. The problem with it's okay to have an Xbox Huge dungeon, but bear in mind that most of us have already done it, and unless you've completely changed it, we're going to blitz it. We really are. Those who are experienced are going to blitz it. And that worries me, because I think the endgame content might be a little bit lackluster, and because of this whole massive focus on Naxxramas, I think it's going to get beaten quicker than they would like, particularly bearing in mind it's been beta tested to death, and that's where everyone went. And it is. It's where everybody went. So, I'm hoping for more raid content. And don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to playing Nax, but I do hope they've got something up their sleeve, because I'll tell you, we're going to go blitz the place. We're going to love every minute of it, but then we're going to wonder, well, what's next? My name's been TotalBiscuit, this has been Blue Please, and I think it's time, the last 4 minutes of the show, to do some shout-outs before my final music track of the evening. Thank you very much for listening, guys. It's been awesome. Very much enjoyed doing the show. I'm glad to be back. And you'll, of course, see me tomorrow on Pug, doing some production, and no doubt getting my ass handed to me in the quiz by Ariana and the one and only Starman. And Terpster, well, he's never handed anyone's ass anyone on anything. But anyway, if you've got any shout-outs, send them over to me for the last 3 minutes of the show, themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Or PM me on IRC, that's irc.mmorc.com, # or pound. Wow, radio, yes you can. You can do that. I have no issues whatsoever with you doing that. In fact, I'd quite like you to do that. So send me shout-outs for the last few minutes of the show, and then I'm going to be handing over to the guys, Dunkor and Cadwellian, for Wow Things Considered, and I'm sure they've got an awful lot to say, so you better stay tuned for that. Only on WoW Radio. Do not go anywhere at all. Now, first things first, I'd like to give a quick shout-out to my new guild who's actually only just allowed me in, which is great. They actually only just let me in today on the basis of my application. So thanks, guys. That is very much appreciated. I'm looking forward to raiding with you. I'd also like to give a shout out to some guy who sent me, would you like a voice part in my machinima? And that's all he sent. It's like, well, how would I know that? I mean, come on. Okay, I've got a shout out going out to Ayomo here, who says, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone in Weak Source on Frost Whisper. So there you go, there's a shout out to everyone in Weak or on Weak Source. A shout out to me because I'm level 74 and you're not. Ha ha ha, that's Illurian. Yeah, I'm married and you're not. Who's the winner now, eh? Illurian. Yeah, he's been power leveling it. It's pretty hideous. It's probably glued to his chair. Shout out to Mazjin. Shout out to whoever got the Collector's Edition. I hate you from Mazjin. If you want a Collector's Edition, go to Newcastle. They're in HMV. Trust me. Lyric, shout out to Why So Serious? Because we are awesome. Be careful, Walt. I will catch you. It's also like to give a shout out to Walt. I actually gave I have a Collector's Edition key. I actually have 2 keys. Because thanks to Kiki, I have a Collector's Edition as well. Walt was having some issues. I don't know why, but he was having some real issues getting hold of it. So, he can have my key. Because I think he's awesome. As much as I like to taunt him because he's Argentinian and we won the war, ha ha ha. He's a nice bloke. I like Argentarian, as I like to call him, so shout out to him. Shout out to Terimo, the Druid on Sylvanas EU, that's from Nona. Shout out to you because you gave me a reason to level up my level 24 Shami on Shattered Halls. Oh no, I'm being stalked already. Funnily enough, I actually had a message from someone today saying, you must be a WoW Radio fan. You're not the real Total Halibut, he plays on your American side. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I actually kind of wish that I'd said that, yeah, I am not the real Total Halibut, so people would leave me alone, but never mind now. I love you guys, really. Shout out to Erinus on Sisters of Aloon, to the Guild Riddle of Steel. Simon, slow down already. We need to catch up. Shout out to Caleb as well. Level Your Hunter. That is from Kyle McGowan. Good to see that you decided to continue doing broadcasts despite your experience at the hands of USA Custom. I was kind of disappointed at the prospect of not being able to listen to you anymore. You have a very professional attitude. No, I don't. I'm a complete and total failure. That's from Tilt. Yes, absolutely. I think I'm about done, folks. My name has been TotalBiscuit. This show's name has been the TotalBiscuit Show. No, it hasn't. It's been Blue Please. This has been WoW Radio. Check out the rest of our shows on wcradio.com. Remember to review and rate us on iTunes, and if you want to donate, then by all means, it is very much appreciated. There's a donate button on our front page. You can donate via PayPal. Anything is great, and you get access to our special donators forums and content. Thank you for listening, folks. I'm enjoying myself very much. Stay tuned for Wow Things Considered with Dunkor and Cadwellian. Good night. You have been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Please, which airs on Fridays at 5:30 EST, that's 10:30 British Standard Time, only on WCRadio.com. Feel free to review and rate us with honest and